Hello, beautiful podcast humans, and welcome back to another episode of Sparks the Conversation. It's just going to be a bit of a ramble today. I thought I was going to go on a bit of a rant, but I've changed my positioning on that. And today's pod is going to be about when do you know that you're ready for your first bodybuilding show? And it's a tricky one, man, because in all honesty, I think the nature of the sport that we're in, you as an individual and someone who's kind of loves training, loves physique development, is very kind of almost analytical and critical of themselves at the same time, will probably never objectively think that you are ready for your first show. You'll always be thinking, right, I could do with some more muscle here. I don't know if I'm ready in my time of my life. And the main thing that I can understand from kind of doing it is that there's never a right time to do anything. And with something with this, yes, you can set things up so that you're in a really good place. And I do think you should set yourself up so that you're in a really good place before you do anything this serious. But you will always talk yourself out of a situation. You'll always talk yourself out of doing something that really truly does scare you. And it's completely different to the norm of what you've normally done and what most people do. If you speak to most people, the thought of getting up on a stage in a thong with some brown paint on is like a terrible fancy dress idea. Do you know what I mean? So you will have all of these narratives in your head telling you not to do it. And of course, I thought for years, almost 10 years, when should I do my first show? And I put it off. I was never big enough. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't big enough. I didn't think I had enough muscle. And then I kind of got inspired by seeing a client do it. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. And in hindsight, I should have thought about it more. I should have planned better. And probably, in hindsight, if I'd planned better, I would have got a better outcome. But I know that now, and I can use that to kind of lead my next dieting phase. So, in all honesty, you need to be very kind of objective, or get someone who can be objective with your physique and what you want to achieve in the sport. Realistically, a lot of the time, your first time is more for the experience, unless, being honest, you have those mega genetics that you could potentially win. And if you have those, credit to you. But the first kind of time round of doing it, you just need to be in it for the process and make sure that you have everything set up for you, that you know what you're doing, or you have someone in your corner who knows what they're doing, that they can help you with that. What you shouldn't do is what I did, is just kind of drop into it. Because I did a mini cut and I thought, you know what, I fancy doing a show. I wouldn't recommend that at all. But when I think back to it and whether I wish I'd done it earlier, I do wish I'd done it earlier. I wish I'd done it when I was kind of around the 24, 23 mark. And I do wish that I'd potentially taken things a little bit more seriously earlier on in my training career. It's only really been recently, in the past kind of 3-4 years, that I've really doubled down on the things that work. And you've got to think about, am I ready now? But you also need to think, have I actually done enough work, or high quality, effective work preceding this point, or preceding this kind of competitive year? Because if you haven't, the reality is that when you diet down as a natural guy, if you don't actually have a level of muscle, you will really see that. And trust me, I've trained for years, and I put a lot of work into training, and I love training and I love fitness, and I dieted down and I thought I'm not actually as big as I thought. And it's a bit of a head fuck, I'm not gonna lie, because you spend all this time training, doing all your stuff, and when you take all the body fat off, you're not actually as big as you think. And you've got to be prepared for that. So you need to make sure you've actually done a decent amount of high quality work before that, to give yourself a fighting chance, or give yourself a fighting chance to be the best version of yourself on that stage. And that's one thing you need to think about, is in your first year, or your first time on stage, or when you're thinking about whether you are ready to prep, who are you doing this for? Because one of the main reasons that I didn't ever do a prep, because I didn't really want to. I didn't think I had it in me to do it. And likewise, I didn't think I'd do well. And that is one of the problems I see, is people not doing something because they're worried about the outcome or the consequence, or they're placing in a very subjective based sport. And it's easier said than done with that, because again, within physique development, we're all very critical of ourselves. We're always analysing ourselves, we're comparing ourselves, we're checking photos, we're looking at our performance, we're looking at our data, and we're thinking to ourselves like, am I doing everything? Am I better than this person? Do I have more muscle? Even subconsciously we're doing that, and that's the harsh reality of the world we live in at the moment. And my fear of not doing well held me back for a long time, because realistically the person that I should have been doing it for is myself. I should have just been focusing on bringing the best package that I can bring personally, not what, oh, I don't have big legs compared to him, or I'm never going to have shoulders like that. And that shouldn't be the determining factor of whether I should do my bodybuilding prep. No, it should have been, do I have the capability to get the best out of myself in this prep? And when I flipped that switch and I was able to do that this year, albeit I don't think I bought the best package I could, I did it. And I think I was ready to do my first show, and that's something that you'll need to kind of go on a little bit of a soul-searching mission before you decide to do it. Make sure you've done the work before, and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. The experience, the enjoyment, the love for the sport, the experimentation, and the personal battle that it will bring up, because inevitably it is tough. Doing kind of hours of cardio every day, eating barely any food is tough. I'm not here to deter you. You just have to be realistic in, are you ready for that in your stage of your life? Do you have enough time to be able to do this? Or are you just kind of adding another stressor to your life that you might not be able to manage? So that's just my thoughts on kind of first time competing and when you might know whether you are ready. And the truth is, if we left our own devices, you'd probably never think you were ready. And then in my case, that was very much the thing, until I really kind of plucked up the courage with a bit of help from people around me at the time. I was able to kind of dip my feet in, and now I really do love the sport, if you'd call it that. But that's a whole nother can of worms. So just a short one today. I thought I'd give you a little snippet, a little thought process on how I'd be thinking about if I was a first-time competitor again. But yeah. Thank you for listening wherever you are. If you are new around here and you're watching the video on YouTube, give me a like, give me a comment, let me know what you want me to talk about. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, don't hesitate to give us a 5-star review. It would be super helpful in helping the podcast grow. If you have any topics you'd like me to cover, talk about, ramble about, rant about, because I do love ranting. And if you follow me on Instagram, which you should do, alex.projectsparks, you'd see my rants all the time. I would happily do those in a podcast. But other than that, I hope you are well wherever you are in the world, whatever year you're in, whatever day it is, whatever week it is. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next podcast.